It's your 716 Uncle P from the world famous podcast, Men of a Certain Age. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Peace and welcome into the latest episode of Men of a Certain Age, The Soup. As always, I'm Les. I got my man DL with me from A-Town. And I also got my man Panero rocking that blue and orange skies all day, every day. What's up with y'all fellas, man? How y'all feeling, man?
Man, no complaints, man. We got a new setup in the crib. You know what I mean? Hopefully y'all boys get a little bit more light. We get a little bit more stability. Get a little bit more sound quality from here. Everything's going good. I just picked up my spring line for my t-shirts. Nice. My 770-678-404 CCC t-shirt. So thanks to Calvin Stallworth from the town, our homeboy.
Shout out to Killer Cal.
No doubt. Callie got me out my sample package this morning. So just left him and he back in the shop working. So everything is good, man. It's all coming together. Zero complaints. Happy to be with y'all boys again.
No doubt. Panero, what's popping, my G?
Peace to my guys. Yo, I want to give a shout out to my man Punxsutawney for lying to me, B. We got some weather out here.
You got some beef with Phil?
Phil got you fucked up, bro.
Yo, we got smacked. Phil, let me tell you something. I know you watching, man. When I see you out in the streets, it's gonna be a problem. You know
Tis roadkill.
When you show your head,
roadkill, exactly.
You're gonna see a huge tire coming at you, man. That's from Uncle P right there. Punxsutawney Phil. You a punk, man.
Indeed. We are in the middle of March Madness. So UH, man, did you fill out a bracket for March Madness, man?
You know what? I got invited to a couple of tournaments, man. I didn't fill out a bracket. I figured out you sit back and just root silently for Carolina. Everybody who knows me knows exactly how I'm rocking, who I'm rocking with. So it's really no need to put it out there. That's what I was gonna have winning this shit anyway. But man, I actually sat around, man, yesterday all day and watched the games, and I really enjoyed myself, man. I enjoyed the Texas game. I actually fell asleep at the second half of it, but I love to watch the Carolina game in full. Feeling real good about everything. So yeah, let's go, man.
No doubt. Shout out to them Tar Heels, man. Lord, I know you filled out a bracket. What's your bracket looking like out there?
Yo, another shout out to Coach Calipari, man. Yo, let me talk to you.
Fuck out of here.
You crushed my bracket, B.
We had a boys going to
joint, man. You know what I'm saying? And just because you get all the young ballers, you know what I'm saying, the top 1, top 3, whatever on your squad, now that the NIL is around, people are sticking around a little longer. So you end up playing some grown men out there. So readjust. You know what I'm saying? Do something about that, man. You killed my bracket. You owe me $55, B.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Shout out to the young women and the young men out there trying to go hard one time to cut down the nets, man. March Madness, one of my favorite times of the year. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, once again, y'all, welcome into the latest episode and the greatest episode of The Soup. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below and tell a friend to tell a friend. So this week, man, in The Soup, we got a real hot topic coming around. And this is really, for me, man, it's what The Soup is really about, man. It's predicated on the culture. And right now, the state of the culture, in my opinion, is really shaky right now. And just looking from my timeline, my TL speaks to me daily, man. And when I look at my TL, man, sometimes it comes off positive. I try to stay with the positive things and delete and move on from the negative, positive over negative. But at the same time, man, the negativity, unfortunately, seeps through. Sometimes you got to have the negative to have the positive at the same time. Got to have the yin to the yang. And lately, it's been a lot of silliness, a lot of foolishness going on and coming across my timeline, man. From the elderly, from men of a certain age like us, all the way down to the very youth, to 8th graders and 9th graders. And what I'm going to do is I want to get off and start off with this week. We had an appearance from someone I call a double agent. She might not even be a double agent. She just enemy of the state is what I want to say. She's enemy of the state is what I call her. And who I'm talking about I'm talking about Candace Owens. She made an appearance on the Breakfast Club. So what I want to do is go ahead and let's jump into this little cliplet of Candace and listen to what she has to say, come back and chop it up.
Everyone should be outraged, whether you're on the left or the right. But in terms of the better candidate for Black Americans, I asked you the question, how were you living under Trump? The person that they told you was going to put us back into chains and we were all going to be slaves again. How was the economy under Trump and how are you doing today? And every time you ask that question, everyone knows that they were living better under Trump because he was deregulating the environment, and people were just living better under Trump. And he is, in my opinion, a better president because at least he's telling you the truth and he's telling you what he actually thinks. One of the things that I hated the most about him when he first came down the escalator, I was like, oh, he's way too brash.
All right, so let's stop there for a moment. This whole notion that you were doing better when Donald Trump was president. I'm going to come to you first, Pete. Do you know that you were doing much better when Trump was at the helm?
Better how? Yeah, I lost a lot of I lost money under Trump because of the pandemic, most likely, first and foremost. I was on the job that I do. I have clients that need medical attention, and some of them I couldn't get to because they couldn't be transported. The other job I have, a lot of people lost their jobs, hours, just all kinds of just everything you had to go through trying to get yourself vaccinated if you were for it or not for it. He's telling you it's going to go away. Don't worry about it. He's calling it the Chinese flu, which is racist. It's just how is what I want to know. There's no way I personally wasn't doing better. And whoever else said that they were doing better, they're just saying it because they're drifting. I lost a close friend during the pandemic and I blame Trump for it. So no, I wasn't doing. I'm doing better now. Put it that. How about that?
So let me pose this to you, Don, because that's one of the first things they like to throw out, the Black Republicans for Trump. You were doing, but you can't say that you weren't doing better when Trump was president. So I'll pose it to you, Don. Do you notice that you were doing better when Trump was president?
I'm going to be 1,000% honest, right? A lot of people think that they were doing better because of PPP and EDILs, things like that. So a lot of people are under the delusion that because Trump was signing the checks that were passed by Congress, that it was under Trump that they were doing better. Free money, large sums of money all at one time. I, however, have a completely different view of this. I've never made as much money as I made when Trump was president. And I'm talking about pre-pandemic, like literally our minimum from 2016 and probably 2019, I made minimum on an average, probably $10,000 a month, literally, right? But the thing about it is that the reason I was able to make that was because of the deregulation of certain things, the wide open kind of bandit economy that we had at the time. And even though it was good for me personally, in retrospect, when we look back at it and we see the amount of debt that we're in as a country, it really wasn't a good thing long term. So it may have been short-term satisfaction, but it's not healthy or a good way to continue in the future. So no, he doesn't get my vote just because of that.
All right, so let's go ahead and continue on and see what Candace Owens had to say.
Obama sounds way more polite. But I asked the question, do you want to be politely lied to or have somebody that's at least telling you what they think about you in no uncertain terms? I like Trump for a ton of reasons. And for me, it was always about the economic arguments. And I knew that he was going to be a better candidate for Black Americans because of that, especially Build the Wall sounded so wild, right? Back in 2016, it sounded wild. It sounded xenophobic. And I was saying, if these illegals get into the inner city communities, the first people that are going to be harmed are going to be Black Americans.
People actually were mad at you, right? When you got into the conversation with T.I. at the Revolt Music Conference, right? And you were saying that, and people didn't understand it, but it seems like people are understanding what you were trying to say back then.
Yeah, and I am so happy to have those moments because I think T.I. is a trash person. I'll say that 1,000 times over because first and foremost, I had spoken to T.I. prior to that event. Like T.I. was the only person on stage that I actually knew. And for the same reason that I met you, Kanye had put us in touch. We had talked, and I know that T.I. thinks more conservatively. So he was literally putting on a show. And so it just makes me wonder, especially with all the stuff that like came out in the Diddy lawsuit, like who's controlling T.I.? Because that was wild. He was literally putting on a show like he didn't know me on stage. Like he was surprised I was saying the stuff. He was way more level-headed and rational.
Let me just stop that right there because that's funny to me that she says, who's controlling T.I.? I'd have the same question for her. Who's controlling you?
We were on the phone And I still look back on the moment. I'm like, what was he doing? It was like a circus act up there. And he was doing something that I thought was harmful because we were actually having a great discussion. And yet he created a little moment. And that was all the media ran with, despite the fact we were on that stage for hours. They ran with that moment. And I was really upset about it. But you're right. I was talking a lot about illegal immigration and saying this is something that we need to pay attention to because eventually the black vote's not going to matter. Something that they worked so hard for is not going to matter. They get enough illegals in. What are we at? 10 million under Biden? And they're doing it intentionally. Like it's going to be the same thing that they did to Black Americans in the 60s, what Lyndon Baines Johnson did when he established welfareism and the Great Society Act. They want to get these people in, offer them handouts, and turn them into economic slaves that will continue to vote for Democrats because they're getting free handouts. And it's incredibly racist, first and foremost, but because Black Americans are still, a lot of Black Americans, I should say, are still living under this deception that Lyndon Baines Johnson was a good president, even though he was an avowed racist. I mean, he hated Black people. One of the
It's funny though, right? She's gonna sit up here and say Lyndon B. Johnson was a devout racist and he hated black folks, but I'm voting for Trump.
so many times, hard R referring to us as the N-word. I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this man is being hailed as a hero because he had to sign the Civil Rights Act, essentially with a figurative gun to his head because the country was on fire. JFK had just died, and there were riots in the streets protesting because of racism. And he did not want to sign it, but he did. And with the other hand, he signed the Great Society Act and incentivized welfareism and programs to incentivize not marrying Black men. To think that we had government agents knocking on the door, going into the homes of Black women and being like, there better not be a man that lives here. We're just here to check to make sure if you want this check, dad can't be home. Every other ill that Black America is facing today is because we've removed fathers from the home. So I'm like a big, I use my platform to talk about men a lot and the need for male leadership, everything that is so harmful, this Me Too, false feminism, all of this crap. It's anti-man, and it's anti-man for a reason because a society cannot survive without strong men. A household cannot survive without strong men. We need strong men to lead homes. And so the fracturing of the Black family, I think, was the test. Like we were the mice in the experiment. Let's see how that goes. And now they're doing that writ large. And I hate feminism so much. I can't even tell you because what it's about is it's just an attack on men.
You just said a lot, Candace. Now with the politicians, whether it's Lyndon B. Johnson, Trump, Biden, I think people are able to ignore a lot of their BS as long as they can get something.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. So that's why I don't even like to talk about the person. I like to talk about the policies. So what is the difference between traditional conservatives and MAGA?
I would say between traditional conservatives and MAGA.
Yeah, like before what the conservative party was before MAGA and what it is now.
Yeah. So I think what you're describing is that
Not that you are a conservative, and definitely not that you are MAGA either, Don. Is there a difference? Do you see a difference between the two?
Between which one, a conservative and a maggot?
And a MAGA. Make America great again. One
And a maggot. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. The conservatives tend to be more about the preservation of America. Like that's the word, conservative, right? Mm-hmm. What the maggots want to do is they want to change America to the point where it reflects their white nationalistic Christian views. So those are two completely different things. You can have a Black conservative because conservatives are generally economically conservative, socially programmed, adverse, more of the pull your bootstraps up types of thing. It's built for people who have already established themselves in society or have a means to establish themselves in society as far as conservative is concerned. Because, like I said, the meaning of the word conservative is to keep things as they are. But maggots are differ in the fact that they want to change the country to affect a certain philosophy and a certain ideology for certain people.
All right. So now let's see what Candace says.
There was this fracture in the conservative movement as people realized that when he was referring to the swamp, what he meant was it didn't actually matter if you were on the left or the right. They were all working together in DC and selling out all of America. There is no reason why you go to DC and become a multimillionaire. You're supposed to be there to serve the American people. You're there taking our tax dollars. So what was happening was these lobbying interests. Big Pharma goes down and they lobby and they'll offer money to a candidate to go push a drug like the COVID vaccine. Or they'll lobby for war. It's the biggest lobby, of course, military industrial complex. So we're all suffering. You're going to work because these lobbyists are getting their incentives done by buying out these politicians. And so Trump hit the scene as somebody who wasn't bought and paid for because he didn't need their money. He wasn't like a random congressman going to DC with no money. And he just started talking about the swamp. Like, it's not even Republican or Democrat. And I want people to wake up to that, because I'm not here ride or die for Republicans. They all sell us out. Like, the stuff that they did during COVID is criminal. It's criminal. And just the free handouts. First off, trillions of dollars you're signing.
Oh, she's saying the free handouts. And who was the champion of giving the handouts out?
Who want the names on the checks?
Right. It was Trump. So she gets up here constantly contradicting herself like a motherfucker.
These omnibus bills, if you read into it where that money is going, it's insane. It's literally going to museums, boards of museums. They're quite literally money laundering is what's happening when they sign these bills. But they keep it so that the information level is so low for Americans that it's like, oh, COVID's so bad, like, we're going to give you a check that's $300. This basically describes welfareism, right? Despite the fact that there's been trillions of dollars since the establishment of welfare, Black Americans are poorer today than we were before it. People don't know this, but during the time of Jim Crow, before welfare was established in the 1950s, Black Americans were actually outpacing white Americans in this country in terms of economic growth. And the reason for that was because our families were together. We had good values. The government only wants to give you the bare minimum, but where's the rest of the money? Where is it going? They sign these bills making you think that this money is going to you. It's not. They are stealing from the American people. And you look at your congressman, whoever it is that you guys sent down to DC, and you realize that they're all just puppets. I feel like we're watching a performance. And who can say the most outrageous thing? The Republicans don't want to sign this because they want slavery and they want you back in change. And the Democrats don't want to sign this because they want grandma to die. Whatever it is, you're watching just... to me, it's a play.
That's why I don't think. That's why I think if you're Black, you shouldn't be beholden to any political party. Right.
Any concept of saying that I am a Republican forever, a Democrat forever, is a nonsense. You should always look at the candidate.
So before we go on,
so what is she then?
Did she answer the fucking question?
No, she didn't.
He asked her.
God answered the question, though. Thank you, God.
You know what I'm saying? This man asked her the question, and she went off on a tangent on wherever she wanted to go. And see, that's my issue with Charlemagne and Envy and Just Hilarious. Any other time, she won't shut up. Any other time. But now she up here with Candace Owens, and she shook. She ain't said, how many words has she said since we've been watching?
None.
Ridiculous.
Word salad.
Nothing. Or echoed whatever. Come on, Just Hilarious. Come on.
That are running, and any person that is running saying that they want to grow government is your enemy.
Why do you think people give you a lot of backlash for questioning people and having questions? I see all the time with Charlemagne, if we question something that Kamala Harris did, or question something that Joe Biden did, or question somebody.
Softball questions.
How will people have so much backlash when you ask so many questions?
Black America, wake up, okay? They don't like you. They don't like...
She wants to be woke? I thought she was against this.
Right. But check it out, y'all. Did y'all catch it? She said, they don't like you. And then she changed it. Oh, they don't like us. They don't like
you.
And then she
ain't us until she fixed it.
America has...
America.
Yeah, like the government, the American government... Why would you think the American government wants to help you? Well, at what point in history has that proven to be right?
I want to go back to something you said earlier, because I know a lot of people will hear you say, Candace, you're speaking a lot about the Black family, but then you married a white man. Well, I would have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Dr. Umar?
I have heard of him. I have not listened to him, I'll be honest. What is his argument, actually, if you could just repurpose his argument?
He feels
everything
that,
Black.
No.
Oh, she speaks.
Oh, Jerry.
He feels Black men should be with Black women, because when you're talking about it from an economic standpoint, you want to grow the wealth as a Black family.
But that
and if you marry somebody from another race, then your wealth will be with that person, and he doesn't like that.
Okay, I would love to talk to him more about that, because it's always very interesting to me to hear this paradox of Black people who will make an argument that the system is racist, and then also make an argument like this, which is essentially making an argument for the Supreme Court to revisit Virginia versus Love and basically say that Black Americans and white Americans shouldn't be marrying. I think the greatest thing ever is when people come together on the basis of who they love and get married. For me personally, I never thought of my husband as a race. This is very interesting to me that she's married to a white man. When I look at my kids, I'm not like, oh, my kids are mixed. I married the person that it made the most sense for me to marry. I have a mind that is just if you even knew half the things that I'm thinking about, the stuff that I'm reading, just go all the time. It's difficult for me to find it was difficult for me to find a partner that was a challenge to me. The challenge, whether you want to say like an academic challenge, whatever it is, it just was. What you will know, a lot of times people think that when people come together, it's because of how they look. Actually read this in a Thomas Sowell book, or maybe it was a Shelby Steele book. People tend to marry their IQ, which is interesting. You think if you see two black people, you go, oh, it's because they're two black people, but actually they are probably better matched based on their IQ. I fell in love with my husband just because I think he is one of the most brilliant people ever. I love him very much. The stuff that he does, like, there is no other person that I could have married. We have 3 beautiful children who are growing up in an environment that I am just so happy that I was able to what every parent wants, to give your children better than you had. And that's all I can say. I'm just the luckiest person in the entire world to marry
How is
my
he gonna
husband.
feel about you?
OP, her little synopsis on why she married her husband. What you get from this here?
It sounds to me as if what she's saying is those who look like her, because of the way her mind works, and she's always constantly going, and you don't know what's going on in her mind. Only someone with a high IQ can deal with her. She had to go to a European because in between the lines, what she's saying is a European's mind and IQ is higher than someone that looks like her. So she feels like she's much smarter than the average black woman. So she has to get a European to be on her IQ level. That's what it sounded like to me.
Exactly. That's exactly what I took from her little speech there, is that a black man or whomever wouldn't be smart enough to deal with her. So
Right.
she would have to get involved with an intellectual European
Right.
in order to satisfy her IQ, the looks, and the feeling you get with that person when that person is around you doesn't matter. It's the IQ
Right.
is what she fell in love with. What you pick up from what she just said there, UH?
I think she's full of shit. And the reason I say she's full of shit is because she did talk about the black family and how the black family was so important. Yada, yada. Lyndon B. Johnson did this. Basically, the beginnings of the Southern strategy. She talked all that shit, right? About black men not being in the house and people coming by and knocking on doors and welfare and so on and so forth. And the establishment agenda and all that type of stuff. And she does what?
White man.
She marries a white man and gets fetishized every fucking night. That's my thing with her, is that she can actually sound like she's making sense. And if you don't listen closely to her and you don't understand, you don't have a knowledge of yourself.
You're being played. Exactly.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's quick to fall into the talking points that she's perfected, right? Because obviously she's making this tour, and we know this as well as anybody else. The more we do something, the better we get at it. The easier it is to go ahead and qualify and quantify something because you're so used to talking about it. Obviously, she's been at this hard since what, 2015? That's 9 years. So yeah, she's well established in her points. She's making her money. She's known. She has a brand that she has to support, refresh, and defend. And now she's looking to expand it to black people who are feeling weak because of the Joe Biden slander that's out there.
So basically you're saying she's a reloader right now.
Yeah, that's all she is. Yeah, she's coming in. She's picking up the broken promises, and she's picking up the people who bought before. Yeah, she's coming in. She's reloading.
Exactly. Chose the other side, and that's where she's at. And there's nothing wrong with interracial marriage or anything of that nature. But at the end of the day, you have to know who you are to be where you are. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, Candace Owens is not about us. She's about the other man. So just keep that in mind. As I said, man, this episode of The Soup is very culture heavy because at the end of the day, we are all about the culture. And Godfrey, man, pulled up on Club Shay. And Godfrey has something to say about the black community. And before we get into this conversation between Godfrey and Shannon, do you mess with Godfrey, P? Do you like Godfrey?
As a comedian, I think he's talented, fam, because his impressions are crazy. You know what I mean? But it's not like someone I'm gonna look to. Yo, Godfrey got a Netflix special coming out. Let me run to the building. Let me grab my horn, or you know what I'm saying? If I see him and he's doing an impression, you know, I'll check him out. I'm not really a super fan or nothing like that. I'm more like a Mike Epps, Cat Williams type cat. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, no doubt. What about you, UH? How you feel about Godfrey?
I'm exactly the same as D over there, man. I'm with his impressions. I like his impressions, but to me, he's never been funny. You know what I mean? He's just not funny to me. He's tolerable, but I'm not really impressed by him at all as far as comedy is concerned.
I like Godfrey, and I'm gonna tell y'all why I like Godfrey. Godfrey has knowledge of self, first and foremost. And I'm not saying that's the reason why I like Godfrey. You know what I mean? He knows who he is. He knows the plight of the black man, and he can also get up there and articulate for himself his thoughts. So I respect that greatly. And I've seen him when he was on with Lord Jamal and Rod Digger on the Godcast, and that's how I knew he was standing on something, because Lord J ain't gonna have him up there if he's so that kind of gave me the inkling I need to listen to what Godfrey is saying. When I say listen to, is to give him the benefit of the doubt before I just say, oh, he's a clown ass, comedian ass type dude. And I've seen some heavy conversations with Godfrey, with Lord J and Rod Digger. And also I've seen Godfrey fry Vlad
Yeah,
about bullshit. You know what I mean? Battling him about how Africans treat African Americans, and also the Jews and African Americans and Jews and blacks, period. So I got respect for Godfrey, but like most people, PS, I'm not going to take anything anybody says as in or be all without doing the math on it myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I like Godfrey, and he had an interesting conversation with Shannon, man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up and let's see what Godfrey had to say, and then we're going to come back and do what we do on the Soup.
Our community, I hate saying community. Community sounds so poor.
Are we talking about the black
Our
community?
society.
Are we talking about
Black,
comedic?
No, because the white dudes, I'm going to keep it 100, because I know a lot of white comics, and man,
They ain't beefing like
hell no. And I'm not saying there's not guys that don't like each other, but these motherfuckers, they will hold that solidarity. That white male solidarity, they will hold it, because they all are on each other's podcasts. Rogan makes these motherfuckers kings. It's Rogan, and even though, shout out to Adam Carolla, because I'm a regular on his, and they share each other's shit. They get on each other's podcasts. Right. They help each other all the time. I don't even want to say this shit, but if it causes controversy, I'm down with it. We ain't shit. Real talk. We are fucking whack. Because here's the problem. We always air our grievances on public platforms. Okay. This motherfucker ain't that funny, that motherfucker. I'm like, why? I don't understand. What is this fucking addiction of calling each other out in public all the time on who's funny, who's whack? I don't understand. We're the only ones that kind of do this shit. Okay. And of course we watch, because controversy is always fun, but I don't know why we do that. We should be on each other's podcasts. We should be like liking each other's shit, but we don't do that. I know some and I got comics that don't like me, and I'm not saying any names. Shit. I got comics that don't fuck with me. I got comics that have talked shit about me, but I never let them know. They've talked shit about me. I've had comics talk shit about me to people in the business, producers who have come up to me and said, hey, are you friends with this particular person? I could say his name right fucking now. And they say, yeah, I know this guy. What's up? He was saying some really disparaging things about you, but we didn't believe him. I think you should give him a call. And I call him. I say, why the fuck are you talking about me? And I've never done anything to you, because I don't do anything. You can tell anybody. I mind my business, Shannon. I stay in my lane. All I do is say, let me be the best comedian I can be. I don't stab people. I'm not into stabbing people in the back.
I guess that means you're doing pretty good, because that's what I've been told.
What?
It comes along with the business. When you're doing well, people take shots at you.
They take shots at me. I've had women tell me shit. Here's the thing. When a dude is talking bad about another dude to a woman, that's bitch shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's bitch shit.
Yes.
I don't do that. I can have a beef with you, right? And if I see a girl that you know, I'm not going to say shit to her about you. That's cornball shit. But they do that to me. And I've been told by women. That's what's great, is like my relationship with someone, be like, yo.
That once was called player hating, is what Godfrey was mentioning, talking to a broad about another dude. That was what's called player hating. I don't know what it's called here in 2024 with the youth, but that's neither here nor there. So, Pete, Godfrey had a lot to say right then and there. Do you feel as though that we as a people, we ain't shit?
I think what Godfrey was saying, he went a little too far to say we ain't shit, but I understand what he's saying when it comes to airing your dirty laundry on a public platform. Other comedians or other cultures or other races, obviously as humans, they're gonna have disagreements. One may not like the other, but they're not gonna put it on the public platform for everyone to see. I agree with them in that aspect, man. We need to come together more. Like when you came up with the concept, Fro, of the soup, it was like bringing everyone together with all of the podcast and us talking about it positively or agreeing to disagree in a positive fashion. So I agree with Godfrey in that aspect, man. We need to do a little better, man. Come together.
So what about you, Don, from Godfrey's standpoint? He's basically saying we can't get together. We can't vibe together in order to build together. Do you think he has a point in what he's saying?
I think he has a point, but I think that we need to take control of our narrative. If we're like, we have to understand the power of the tongue, right? We're constantly saying that we can't get things together, or this person's holding me back, or the man this, or whatever the case may be, as obstacles for us to be better as a people, as a whole, then those are going to be the things that got to continue to hold us back. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't be self-aware or we should live in the land or anything like that, but we should definitely understand that as long as we can put the energy out there and we put the work behind it, that things will get better. It's no need to constantly remind us of the problems that we have. Part of being a creative problem solver is realizing what the problem is, seeing what led to the problem, and then making corrective action and moving forward so it doesn't happen again. So I think that's something that we need. Obviously, it's something that is affecting us, and it is going that way. It's something that's affecting us, but it's something that can be corrected through practice.
I find it disturbing here in 2024 that we as a folk can't get on the same page. And we talk about all the time that we're not a monolith. And that's evident that we're not. Just judging from Candace Owens to Club Shay with Candid and Godfrey. I tell you guys, and I point to this all the time, whether it be a myth, whether it be true. I was privy to this information again in a situation when I had to sit still and be still. I was introduced to Willie Lynch and how to make a slave. And for those who are not familiar, Willie Lynch was a slave owner who championed being a slave owner. So what he did is he went to the Caribbean island and he summons all the slave owners to come to this one grand meeting. And during this grand meeting, he ran it down on how to keep your slaves in line and how to and make sure that they obey your commands and your every whim. So he basically laid it down. You pit the young against the old, the tall against the short, the women against the men, the light skin against the black skin. And when you see issues with black folks bickering and this and that and the celebs and different things of that nature, my mind goes to the Willie Lynch isms. Is it still, or do you guys think it's still a case of that, Don?
What's wild about the whole Willie Lynch thing is that obviously I've read the letter, right? And I want to back up because, like I said, I fancy myself as a amateur historian, right? I wanted to see where it came from. And ironically, actually, based upon the linguistics of the letter, it was discovered that it was written in the mid-60s, right? 1960s, right? And it's actually because of the language that they use and the words that they use. But still, the message remains the same. I think that this is a classic case of, like we say, cancerous or crustacean capitalism. We have to pull each other down to make it to shine on top, and we really don't need that. So I think it does go back to that classic Willie Lynch scenario. But like I say, with anything else, we have to continue to push forward and speak positivity over it.
What about you, Pete?
Yeah,
Do you think
I
that
agree.
holds any credence? That holds any credence to what goes on today with us?
Yeah, no doubt. I've always been a proponent of follow the money. You know what I'm saying? Where is the money going? And if it's capitalism all day. Like there was one thing Don said I read. He said something about, is it opportunity or you being taken advantage of? You know what I'm saying? It's like just because you're in a certain position doesn't mean you have to step on someone else to get higher. And I think it's in us. It's not naturally in us to be capitalists. You know what I'm saying? We're a socialist people. We just as a community. But if you are continuously telling us that we're capitalists from birth, we end up stepping on each other. And that's what's happening in the comedy world and the hip hop world. Is people is all about, I got to get mine, I got to get mine. But if you don't have any sense of self, or if you don't educate yourself, you'll never pull your people up. You'll keep stepping on them.
Yeah, man, that's really a powerful ideology with us, man. We really, capitalism is really a tricky balance, and I don't think that a lot of our European counterparts here understand the fact that they can move into. Well, a lot of Black people understand that Europeans can move on it
individually,
on an individual level, because there's so many of them. They have the systems in place, and like I told you, I love everybody. But what I really do admire about the Mexicans, or I should say the Hispanics that have come to this country, man, their sense of community is so high. It's super high. 7 Mexicans live in a house, all share the income, pay the house off, fix the house up, buy another house for a lesser amount of money. Same thing. And with us, it's like, oh no, I gotta have 3 houses where you can only have 2, one for you, one for me, 1, 2 for you.
Exactly.
For me. You know what I mean? That type of situation. So I think it's just something that we just have to learn to overcome as a people, man, and make us better.
It's funny, not necessarily funny, but to piggyback off of what Don was saying about the Hispanics and Mexicans, but at the same time, man, that's been ingrained in them. You know what I'm saying? From the time when they was in Mexico to coming to the United States.
And they weren't
and that whole, I'm going to get mine, you get yours, or you think you're better than me mentality has been unfortunately ingrained in us as a people. So we're gonna move off of Club Shay with Shan Sharp and Godfrey the comedian. Y'all check that out. Also like, share, subscribe, and comment down low. This whole episode of the Scoop is about the culture, man, because as I said, I think the state of the culture is fragile, super fragile. And in case in point, this is election season, and we've been talking about the election season for this entire time that we've been on, right? Joe Biden and Trump. So this past week, President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, they invited a young MC, not young MC, but a young MC, to White House, and that is Glorilla. So what I want to do is this, man. I want to share this with y'all, this footage of Glorilla on with Miss Laura Coates on her CNN show. So let me go ahead and share this with y'all, and we're gonna come back and build upon.
They want you to help people get out the vote.
Hey, that ain't got nothing to do with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just living my life like it's gold. And I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying, talk politics, but I love the president, you know what I'm saying? I love everybody. And at the end of the day got to end.
Yeah, that was...
Fuck out of here.
Glorilla. Now, Miss Laura Coates had her on her show because obviously she went to the White House for whatever reason. I don't know if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were trying to get her to endorse them presidency, but Glorilla at the White House, and then the reaction to being at the White House.
Yeah, who is she representing? I don't know. Is this an example of us? This is what I'm saying. It's like when she goes on, when they bring her to the White House, people look at that and say, that's black people. This is how they are. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a representation of us. And like Don was saying, we was talking earlier, like the others can be individuals, not us. So they'll clump us into Glorilla being at the White House singing "Living My Life Like It's Golden," and that ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Which is not a representation of us as a whole. So my thing is, who's doing the research and who's letting this happen? Why is this happening? Why are you letting her on? Why is it not edited? Or why would you air that? You know? So to me, it's negative. I'm almost embarrassed, even though I shouldn't be, but I am. It's embarrassing. It's horrible.
Don, tell me, when you hear Glorilla up there talking about what doesn't make no difference to me, I'm just living my life like it's golden. Is that pretty much what we were talking about just a minute ago, or with It's Yours, however?
I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's, like I said, we said last week with Fat Joe, how they were how they're positioning Fat Joe to be a voice of the Hispanics. And we said earlier that we're not monoliths, and obviously Hispanics aren't, or anyone aren't monolithic. The problem that I see with the whole Glorilla thing is she's clearly being exploited, right?
Yes.
It's politically or verbally or intellectually sound enough to appear on the program and represent her demographic, the type of people who are her fans and so on and so forth. Intelligently, why put her up there, right? Now, the thing about it is, and what they failed to mention in that interview, is that her new song is what? Get 'Em Glow, right? They wanted her to come up with a soundbite and say, guess what? Get 'em, Joe. It's just the facts. That was really the reason for them bringing her up there, is to get a soundbite for her to say, "Go get him, Joe." Like, the games never end. The chicanery is real deep on both sides. Like Candace Owens says, we have to expect all kinds of tricks and smoke signals and nonsense during election season. So I'm not surprised.
So the reason why Glorilla made the suit this week is because, as I said earlier, man, the culture, the state of the culture is weak. The state of the culture is fragile. It is fractured. And when something is fractured, it's only a matter of time before it collapses or it sinks.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't blame Glorilla for her actions on the lower culture. I blame the culture for her actions on the lower cult show. And that leads me to my next person. Now, this next person is a man of a certain age, a man that's been in the culture probably since 94 until now. And the person I'm speaking of Ray Benzino. So Ray has been in the news as of late. Ray is making diss records at this age, and he's making diss records against Eminem. Now, diss records, you want to make diss records, you want to diss Eminem, that's your business. But at the same time, man, as someone that's a part of the culture, a person that's an elder within the culture, you would think he would try to set some type of an example. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think being part of the culture means just being ratchet. If you part of the culture, much like Ryan Clark said last week on last week's episode about being authentic, it's like the culture is fractured, man. I'm going to say it again. What I want to do is this: I want to play y'all what Benzino is on, and I want y'all to react to this grown ass man out here.
Hold up, I gotta get that nigga crazy, man. That guy's so disrespectful, bro. Oh my god, no way. history. Niggas be doing me like this. Crazy as hell. Oh man.
So he's in front of the restaurant, Eminem's mom's restaurant, the spaghetti. Now he's throwing the spaghetti in the ground while he's doing this video.
That nigga crazy, man.
Now he inside
That
shooting.
guy's so disrespectful, man. Oh my God. No way. In history, niggas be doing me like this. Crazy as hell. Oh man.
Now he's taking the sign. How can I be mad or disappointed in Glorilla?
That nigga crazy, man.
How can I be disappointed in her and this grown-ass man is out in the streets like this, man? This is what has become of the culture. Don, your reaction?
Terrible. Absolutely horrible. The bad thing about hip hop is that it's so new and so young that we haven't reached a retirement age yet, right? You know what I mean? Because obviously music is an art and art is always up for expression, and you never know when someone can be in the mood to express some greatness or something that's going to be profound. But I think that hip hop has grown to a point where there's so many different parts of it that some of it has become fringe. And when I say fringe, I mean that, outside of the mainstream and not necessary. Benzino at this point is not necessary. He's not an active part of the culture. He's no longer. He's never really put out any good music outside of RSB, which I think that they had maybe one or two hits back in the early 90s. The Mighty RSO part, we appreciate the catch on that one. But yeah, he's a non-factor. And by him, even though Eminem is probably doing a good job in retirement, to say, you see the opposite spectrum of that. Somebody who still wants to be part of the culture, who doesn't feel like they had enough impact on the culture and still wants to be relevant, when in all honesty, the source wouldn't be relevant in this day and time, and you may find you should go into something different as opposed to trying to be still in the forefront of hip hop, because obviously it's not working. It's making you look stupid. And in order to maintain your stupidity, you're doing stupid things.
Lord Ray Benzino.
Yeah, I can't even name 3 Benzino songs. Like Don was saying, he's irrelevant at this point, and he's trying to gain some relevancy by coming after M. But why disrespect a man's mom's spaghetti, B? What is you doing, man? And the example that you're setting for people that are watching. Like you said, Fro, if we can't be upset with Glorilla's reaction if she's following what grown man Benzino was doing. You know what I'm saying? What type of example are you setting? Benzino. Wasn't Benzino, was he the developer of the Source magazine?
Co-founder.
That's one thing I know about him, which I appreciate, because I was always into who had a certain number of mics. You know what I mean? But grow up, my guy. You know what I'm saying? You got people that are watching you. He probably got kids. You know what I'm saying? Most likely. So what type of example are you setting for your kids, man? You going to a restaurant and you trashing the place. Come on, man. That's just stupid, man.
Don, you said it best. Ray is a non-fucking factor.
Yeah.
And for him to be out here making diss records,
come on,
50 per and then shooting a video by going to the guy's mom's place of business and peeling off with the Super Today sign. You know what I'm saying? It's, what are we doing here? This is what you're doing. This is what we're doing. And then you want to be, quote unquote, part of the culture.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous for Ray Benzino to be out here first of all, making this album. Second of all, shooting a video and desecrating and disrespecting a place of business like that, man. It's ignorance, man. And at this point in time, man, it's too much ignorance going on in the culture, man, for my liking.
He's a man of a certain age. Benzino, do something to uplift the community, man. What is you doing out there, man?
The ecstasy pills, man.
Horrible.
Too many.
So as we continue on, man, and on this episode of The Scoop is about the culture, man. And as I said, the culture is super fractured, super weak. And unfortunately, man, if we don't shore it up soon, it's gonna be gone. So as I was scrolling my timeline, man, I have different things that come across my line. And this particular video I'm gonna show with y'all, man, is this cat. He's interviewing 2 kids in the local bodega. I'm gonna go ahead and play this for you. Then obviously we're gonna come back and we're gonna do what we do on this. Here we go.
M-Dot, stay clicking, nigga.
Alright.
I ain't gonna lie, before we get into all this video shit, I really be on that shit. Y'all niggas know what I did yesterday. This nigga know we call it slacking. We don't say too much. Yeah.
What? Who did you catch lacking yesterday?
Don't worry about it. That's mad federal.
What grade you in?
I'm in 8th grade.
Okay.
I really be on that shit too.
What grade you in?
9th.
Alright, so look, who is the worst rapper ever?
Gangsta, I'm not even gonna lie. Jay-Z is ass. I don't know why niggas be saying he the best rapper. Hey, that nigga is ass. He was doing slam poetry in the studio. Shit, that nigga's ass.
Bro's hella ass. That nigga's not top 5. Suck my dick, Jay-Z.
This is beyond me.
Bro, that nigga said for shizzle my nizzle in a song. Nigga, what? Niggas be saying drill rap is ass. What the fuck is that, my nigga? Be real.
What you gotta say about that?
Nigga's butt. Word, bro.
They tell me Jay-Z butt?
Word.
Alright, you said you were 8th grade, right?
Yeah, I'm in 8th grade.
Alright, what is the square root of 25?
Bro, square root of 25? Bro, how many sides is in a square?
4.
Here go your answer, my nigga.
What?
It's 4. That's the answer right there.
The square root of 25 is 4?
Yeah. Yeah, bro. Stick is right.
That is the youth of tomorrow. No, it's the youth of today and the adults of tomorrow. The culture, man. This is what is being produced from the culture. What say you from the 9th grader and the 8th grader, Don?
I guess square root of 25 is 5, obviously, but I am blown away. And the reason why, I guess, is because a lot of times I see younger people and I interact with younger people, and they don't have any kids. It puts a different vibe on me because I try not to really judge. But man, these young people are definitely different. They are different, and I don't know if it's because is it our fault as the generation before them? Is it just the way that the world is, man, and the way that things have changed? And watching that video was another day that I'll gladly say that I'm glad I'm 53 years old, so I don't have to deal with that for the next. I could imagine being 20 right now. It would be absolutely crazy. I just think that it's disappointing, man. It's really disappointing to see that our culture is denigrating to that point where admiration and respect is only obtained through negative means and disrespect. That was horrible.
As a parent, P, as a father of 2, and you see that 9th grader and the 8th grader ski masked up, just no regards, no respect, no nothing.
I'm at a loss for words. I don't know if I can't pinpoint why it's so terrible. So I'm just gonna have to say that some of the parents of these children, what they're doing is they're damaging them by giving them too much. You know what I'm saying? I think that because you want your child to live a better life than you lived, you're giving them too much leeway. But the way your parents raised you, you turned out okay. So why don't you go back to the things that your parents did for you? You know what I'm saying? I could be guilty of it sometimes. I may do a little too much for my kids when they were younger. Then I hold myself back. Wait a minute. You gotta earn this, man. I earned it. I think it's parenting. It's just gone. You know what I mean? And the people out in the streets that grab you to the side and be like, "Shorty, go home," because there's about to be something happening out here. That's gone. You just on your own. Shorty was like, "I really get out here and do this, that, and the third." you wouldn't be getting out there doing it back when we was growing up, because Tough Tony would be like, Punkin, go home. We about to be out here, about to be something going on. So you take your little ass home. That's not happening anymore. You know?
Now, Lord, is it because when Tough Tony would have said that to you, would have took heed and took your ass home? Whereas today, the little gorilla from the block is going to be like, I'm outside.
And then Tough would have whooped his ass. It just would have been that. That's would have been it.
But see, the difference now is the little dude gonna pull out and shoot his ass. That's the thing about it. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, man, I'm telling you.
But that's horrible, though, man. That we at this point though, where now they packing. They, like he said, he doing things. He was like, that's federal. I can't say this, that, and the third. But then again, we are exposed to all of this stuff now, like we weren't exposed to with the internet. So has this been going on and we don't know about it, or is it just we're being exposed to it more also? So it's just disheartening, man. It's horrible. These kids can't grow up and have a life of a child that you out here banging and all that. It's just nuts, man.
It's crazy that that's their uniform.
Right.
Whereas when we was kids, obviously, Don, you said it. We are men of a certain age. We are men of a certain era. We are men, I'm biased, we are men of the era. We live through the era. And to think that's these kids' uniforms nowadays is all black, everything, ski mask. It's yo. Yeah, whenever I see you, my back is gonna go up because you look like you
about to do something.
That business. You about that business, boss. And you only in the 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? But you got grown man ideals and aspirations at 14. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, it's not that they dissed Jay-Z is the reason why we had a problem with them. It was the attitude and everything else is that we had the problem with. They could have said, F Jay-Z, Tupac said, they could have said that. But it was everything else that went with it that had you alarmed, like, these little dudes is dangerous out here.
8th and 9th grade. And
you know
what
what
were you thinking in 8th and 9th grade, fam?
Basketball.
What's the thought process?
I was thinking about getting fresh and getting at the next girl. That's what I was thinking about.
Basketball, girls, nothing else.
I'm like out here trying to smoke somebody. This is crazy, man.
That's the reason why I say, man, my timeline is wild because that, you know, everything from Candace Owens on the Breakfast Club all the way down to these young guns, no pun intended, you know, talking reckless on the block, man. You know, but before we wrap this last segment up on the soup, man, another thing, sports related, came on my line. My line has a lot of everything, and it definitely has got the sports. If it don't have nothing, it's got the sports on my TL, man. And this week, LBJ, Mr. LeBron James, the Kang, and JJ Redick released their podcast. And Mr. LBJ, the Kang, has something very interesting to say. So the topic was basically who was like the most influential player of the last 30 some odd years. Who was the most influential? So let's pull up to see what LBJ had to say with regards who are some of the most influential players.
The two biggest influential guys in our game since I've been watching and covering it. They were just so relatable, not always counted on. They were small in stature and they just defied the odds. So you got AI, who's like unbelievable crossover, cornrows, arm sleeve. Everyone wears an arm sleeve now because of Allen Iverson. Kids felt like they could be them. Now you have Steph, who's shooting over the Empire State Building. Those are two guys that you just wanted to watch every single night. Steph and Allen Iverson are the two biggest influential guys in our game since I've been watching and covering it.
All right. P, agree or disagree? So LeBron is what, 38, 39?
39.
So he said in his lifetime, most influential. P, he said AI the answer is Steph Curry. Agree or disagree?
I disagree to an extent. I think LeBron is smart, and I watched the show, and I like the show because what it does is give you a perspective of basketball through a different eye, not just running up and down the court, but the game within the game, like seeing cuts and plays that are happening and things of that nature through a mental perspective of the game, because the game is 80% mental. I think what LeBron is doing is he's smart. His son is about that height. You know what I'm saying? Iverson and Curry about the same height. So I think what he's doing is he's trying to let you know that my son can play in the NBA. These two guys were exceptional in the NBA. Now, to me, the Jordan obviously is one of the greatest influences in the league because he made it worldly. He made it a world thing. You know what I'm saying? I can go with Iverson, though, because Iverson brought the culture to the league. You know what I'm saying? Steph did turn the three-pointer into an actual weapon, and that's an influence, but I don't think it's the most influential. But it is influential, but not the most. But again, I think LeBron is using that to make sure, or to make it so as if his son can play those particular positions and be great, so he should be in the league. And that's his way of subliminally putting it out there. That's my thoughts, though. Maybe I'm thinking too deeply.
Steph and AI, the most influential last 39 years.
Mike is in a whole different strategy. Like you said, Mike made the game global. So you can't take that away from Mike. And obviously, 6 championships, never lost, blah, 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 blah. But my favorite players, obviously, Kobe, Bean, Bryant. How many people were shooting shots in the trash, talking about Kobe? You know what I'm saying? So doing something crazy. We all did that. However, I do agree with LeBron on this one point. Allen Iverson, like we all said, brought the culture to the game, really made it something that wasn't boring NBA classic basketball. He brought the streets to it, the cornrows, the tattoos. He made it cool to represent where you were from and still be a good player. Steph Curry, obviously, if you go to any basketball court these days, you're going to see these little kids out here hiking it from everywhere, any place they can. And the thing about Steph is the fact that he's unopposed. He's not a guy who looks intimidating, classically like Iverson did with the cornrows and things like that. Steph is a normal dude you can see and be like, okay, it's a normal dude. And then go to court and cook you. I think that's where the inspiration and the influence is coming from people. And that's why LeBron said that, is because Steph has made the game seem like anybody can do it with enough practice. Obviously, Steph has a genetic advantage and a practice advantage, but I can see why AI said that. And like I said, to a certain extent, I do agree.
Let me just say, LeBron think he's slick. He's not slick whatsoever.
I was thinking the same thing, bro. I didn't know if I was going too deep with it, though. But...
You know what I'm saying? He's so much in competition with Black Mike that it wouldn't allow him to say Jordan is by far the most influential. Let me just say this. Allen Iverson, right? Dennis Rodman was tatted up before AI.
Right.
All tatted up before AI. So AI didn't bring that chamber to the league. Rodman had been doing that. The headband. We all know who brought the headband back. Who brought the headband back, P?
Uncle Cliff.
Salute.
Cliff Robinson.
To Riverside Zone. Cliff Robinson. Rest in peace. East Delavan around that way. Around your way. Arm sleeve, I'll give him that. You know what I'm saying? And Iverson is no question. The swagger is what he brought to the game, to the league. You know what I mean? And yeah, after he came in with the braids and tattoos, everybody went crazy with tattoos and wanting to have the braids. Yeah, there's no debate. There's no debate in that. That is the influence of Allen Iverson, no question. I give him that. Steph Curry changed the game because he made it so that now if you're not shooting 25 to damn near 33s in a game, it's not the game no more. He changed the game with the way he shot the 3-point, the way he shot the 3 ball. Now, did he change it for the better? I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I get tired of seeing dudes jacking up threes and not going in because everybody isn't Steph Curry. But for my money, MJ, sneakers, style off the court, commercials, the whole nine. And I'm a Knicks fan. You know what I'm saying? Blue and orange skies. So I'm not saying this out of I'm the super fan of Michael Jordan. I just recognize real when it comes down to it. You know what I mean? And LeBron was, in my opinion, was disingenuous and in his influence in his lifetime. This man wore 23.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't wear 3. Iverson was out and in the league when he first started cutting his teeth. He wore 23.
Right.
He didn't wear 3. So yeah, you wore a sleeve and a headband, but the number you put on your back when you first came through was 23.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I feel on that. And there's one other thing I want to get y'all's opinion on, and then we're gonna close out. All right. Let me get this, and then we gone.
Warren did not score and only had 1 shot attempt in that first half. Another turnover for Utah. Edwards gets it back. Utah. Edwards gets it back and threw it down. And 1 from the rafters. Edwards hurt his hand on that too. That was ridiculous.
Hold on.
Immediately looked down at his hand. After.
Okay. All right. Coming to you first, Don. My man, since the year of 86, UH. Is that a dunk?
Ooh. It was a throwdown. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't grab the ring. You know what I mean? He didn't grab that ring. If he didn't grab
Good answer, Don. Good answer.
He got hands on that ring. It would have been a dunk, but it's definitely a throwdown. And shout out to man John Collins, to John the Baptist, because he got baptized twice last week. Your boy got him. Your boy from the Hawks got him, and then Ant-Man got him. So yeah, he had a rough week last week, concussion and contusions and getting dunked on and embarrassed. But yeah, I think that was a throwdown. I don't think it was a dunk because he didn't touch that rim. You got to touch that rim to get that dunk, in my opinion.
Panero, was that a dunk?
No. It was a tremendous throwdown, is what it was. I think he might have dislocated his finger or something, man. He did something to his hand. His fingernail got cracked. Okay. Yeah, but if you ain't grabbing that thing, man, that goal, that rim, it's not a dunk. But he threw it down something nasty, man. Shout out to Ant Live, man. He like Jordan 84.
So I told my son this when it went down. I told him, I said, that's not a dunk. And for the exact reason why y'all said, if he grabbed the rim, it's a dunk. Mm-hmm. I told my son, remember that crazy game, that slam ball when they had the shoulder pads and they played on the trampoline and dunk and throw the ball? That's what that was. That wasn't a dunk. You know, I told my son that was a high flying layup. Is what that was.
A layup
because if you ain't grabbing the rim, it's a layup. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely not giving him a dunk on that. It was impressive. It would have been more impressive had he hung on the rim on him. It would have been epic.
So, bro, what did Cam say? What did he say?
No, he understood what I was saying because I told him I'm not gonna say anybody. If you on a trampoline and you just throw the ball in there, that's not a dunk. You got to grab the rim in order for it to be a dunk. And also, Don, P&I, it's like this. I refuse to call Anthony Edwards Ant-Man because he chocolate and his name is Anthony, you don't have to call it Ant-Man. Yeah. All these other Anthonys running around in the NBA, and there ain't no other Ant-Man. But due to the fact that he's chocolate and his name is Anthony, he's all of a sudden Ant-Man. So we call him Ant Live, not Ant-Man, Ant Live, because to me, that Ant-Man thing, come on, man. That ain't
a slight jab right there, huh? A slight jab right there.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah, man. Call that man something else. Don't call him Ant-Man because if he was our complexion, would y'all call him Ant-Man?
Good point. And they can have a bag.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Culture is fragmented, man, but we're going to do everything we can here on the Soup to try to patch it up and refortify it and build upon it. You know what I'm saying? This was the latest and the greatest episode of the Soup. Before we wrap this up, as we always do, Donnell, you got anything to say to the party people out here?
Go Hills, man. Looking forward to a good week ahead and seeing y'all boys next Sunday, man. I'm always excited to see y'all. Want y'all to have a blessed, safe, and profitable week, man. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on so y'all can get some of the sauce every week.
That's what it is. Lord, you got anything to say to the good people before we wrap?
Yo, this is from Uncle P. Learn to get things done, man. Small victories are important. Just keep that in mind as you go along your week, man.
That's real shit and good advice. As always, man, this has been the Soup. And as always, it's the same old Soup. We just reheat it.
Peace.